Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Ties 2.0 featured on the Whole Care Network and UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. I'm your host and presenter, Christopher McClellan. You just might know me as the Bowtie Guy. On this episode of Healing Ties, I am excited to introduce you to my new friend and awesome caregiver, Susie Singer Carter. Susie is a writer, director, producer who has an intense passion for projects that emphasize girl power of all kinds and for all ages. Susie's critically acclaimed film, My Mom and the Girl, is based on her true story of caring for her mom. It is a heartwarming, uplifting film that gives an unexpected and joyous look at Alzheimer's, diversity, and caring. I know you are going to love my conversation with Susie as much as I did, and we'll see you on the other side of the podcast with information on how you can view Susie's film, My Mom and the Girl. Please enjoy my conversation with Susie Singer Carter. Well, greetings, Susie. It is such a thrill to have you on this episode of Healing Ties. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, we were introduced by mutual friend Judy. I was going to say Judy Cornish. I had another Judy in my mind, but Judy Cornish. And it's kind of like same with Judy and with you. We had the first conversation. It's like instant friends.
Yes.
We just connected.
You know why? Because we have the same. We're cut from the same cloth, right? We have this. Yeah, we knew it. You can tell. We care. We're here to live whatever we can live, and that's it. And we're going to live it the best we can.
Yeah, and while I know a little bit about you, as I do with all my guests. So, Susie, tell us, how are you creating Healing Ties?
Good question. And I love the title of your show because it's very, very appropriate, on point. And I'm trying to create Healing Ties in a lot of ways. And I didn't know I would be so involved in trying to create Healing Ties. But once you dip your toe, whether you like it or not, into this community, if you're smart at all, you realize how rewarding it is and how important it is and how much we need to be there for the people that we love and for our community at large, which sounds really altruistic, but it's true.
It's true.
I've never been more fulfilled. I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm an actress. I love telling stories, but I love telling stories that matter. And so, even if it's a silly comedy, it has to say something for me. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting my time and everyone else's. So, when my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's almost 15 years ago, and she's still with us, and I didn't know anything about it at all. So I didn't know anything about it other than, I think I met a couple of my mom's friends' mothers who had it. And, all I knew is that they kept saying to me, and your name is? And I would say, right? And I would look at my mom and she'd go, that's my daughter, Susie. And I started to learn about, what happens a little bit. But when my mom got it, it was devastating because she's my best friend. And I watched her go through this journey. I'm watching her still go through the journey. And I realized that it wasn't just about me, it was about us and about the family. Right? Yeah. And so I guess the way that I decided was to take what I had learned in my journey, which was a hell of a lot at that point. And about 4 years ago, I decided to make a short film about my mom called My Mom and the Girl. And I did it not because the world needed another Alzheimer's film, but because I thought that I had landed on a really good way to look at it and reframe this disease, which was to find the gems, find the gold in the journey, enjoy the life, since it can be a very long disease.
Exactly.
and my mom's had it for a very long time. So to wrap my head around her living this long with this disease, I wanted to find a way to make it as enriching, as beautiful as it could be, with the skills that she still has. And
Right.
so, yeah.
And by sharing the story, and one of the things that I just know we connect on, it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause. Two people who do have nothing in common personally or professionally, but you find out that they're caring for somebody that has Alzheimer's or cancer, or they're in a caregiving role. They have that instant connection.
Yes.
And then they understand each other without even knowing each other.
Exactly. It's a haiku, I call it. It's haiku.
I like that.
Right? Yeah, it's
Right.
a shorthand. It's a shorthand that we all get. And I noticed that. And this is what I noticed, Chris, when I did the film. I decided I wanted to make what I called a joyous look at Alzheimer's, because I decided that was the way I was going to embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
And we took the film to the festivals circuit. And, if you're not in the industry, but probably everybody knows a little bit about the festivals, you
Right.
screen your film in front of audiences all over the world. We were in Australia and we went to Cannes, so we were in France and it's screened in Korea. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And and people, but the places I was fortunate enough to go and be there in front of the audience, people afterwards were so moved and I don't mean just moved emotionally, like there was a shift. There was a shift, and it was like, oh, you told my story, even if it was a teenager about her grandma, or a husband about his wife, or a wife about her, or a woman about her father, or whatever it was. It was, I hugged more strangers in that year that weren't strangers, if you can wrap your head around that, and
Right.
cried with them, and they said, you told the story the right way, and that we get it, and thank you. So I thought, that felt so good to me. And when my my festival journey ended, I thought I need to keep this conversation going. So I started a podcast called Love Conquers Alls.
Love
as a
conquers
labor
all.
of love. Yep. As a labor of love, and really just to have a place to keep communicating the positive and the way, and it's not, I know you know this and your audience knows this, but it took me a long time to really realize that it's not just hyperbole. It's not to say that, look for the silver lining. There really is a silver lining. There really, really
There
is.
Because, oh my goodness, there's just so many ways that we connect, but there is a silver lining in all of this. Because, caregiving, dementia, Alzheimer's, it's just not a local issue. It's a global issue.
Yeah.
And all these stories are everywhere. And people understand it and are better prepared because of folks like you who are sharing the story. They get the resources. They understand they're not alone.
Exactly. And I know that most people, hopefully one day there won't be this, but there is a stigma. Even, it's not just Alzheimer's, it's anything, even autism. My girlfriend who has 3 children with autism, and, the way that they renaming this condition from, on the spectrum to exceptional, because they are exceptional. They're just exceptionally different in a way, but than we're used to it, the norm. They're actually above average because they're awesome, and they have the ability to, micro focus on things and really change the world in ways that most of us that are considered normal, we're just, we're like, the dog and up squirrel.
That's right. Well, different is not bad. Different can be good.
Different is terrific.
Right.
Different is phenomenal. I think a lot of us, I raised two daughters, and, I watched them go through middle school. I've been through middle school as a woman, as a girl, and there's nothing more frightening than that in the world. I'm telling you, you can. There's nothing.
I don't
more
want to go
frightening.
back.
No, it is horrific. And I remember thinking, like, wow, like when my daughter asked me, said she needed a certain pair of Converse, I was like, got your back. I get it, because you have to. There's a part of your development where you have to fit in for this. For your you just need to be able to know that you fit in, and then that's once you can fit in, then you can walk away and embrace your differences, and those differences are who you are. That's who you are.
The differences are who you are.
Yeah.
Good enough.
And that's what makes you, right?
Powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it really is, and it's it's beautiful. It's something that I subscribe to now, and it's hard. Listen, we all want to just, we want to fit in, and we want everyone to go,
we want to fit in. We want to be perfect. We want to say the right things, but sometimes we could just be ourselves. It's actually not sometimes, all the times. If we're just
all the
comfortable
time
being ourselves, it's okay.
It's more than okay. I often one of my epiphanies is that, Alzheimer's and dementia and aging in general it's really like Benjamin Button, that you go from,
Right.
like little children are developing upwards. Well, our elders are developing and walking backwards out the door in a way, and losing everything that they socially learned and all that stuff, which children have to socially learn. So
Right.
At one point they meet, and both of them have no filters, and both of them are just
Yes.
right. And they teach you so much. Like my children taught me so much. It's like, sometimes we think, why wasn't I invited? But a child doesn't say that. They go, can I come? Can I come too?
Can I come too? Why can't? That's right. It's unfiltered.
It's unfiltered. And sometimes you hear, oh, sure. Or no, we really can't recite. Oh, okay. Next. Right. And that's what happens with, like I watched my mom and all of the people in her community that are going through, living with dementia, living with Alzheimer's. It's part of it. And it's beautiful because it's truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's truth. So if someone
true.
says, look at that girl, my mom would say, wow, that person's got a big tush. And I'd go, Mom, they can hear you. What? It's that. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I would be mortified. And the person that would have heard, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times they would turn around and go, don't worry. How you doing, Lee? How you doing? You having a good day? Because it comes from such a pure. There was nothing mean about it. There's
nothing mean or malicious. It's it's just
observation.
They're saying what's on their mind.
Observation.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful, and it's the way we should all be, because we live behind all kinds of masks that don't fit us.
Goodness gracious, Saint Ignatius, ain't that the truth? I hopefully threw most of my mask away a long time ago, but it still pops up from time to time. But
well, listen, it's not. I can't say it's not fun. Sometimes it's fun to put on a mask. I love dressing up. I love Halloween, and I'm an actress. I love it, playing roles. But when it comes to your relationships, and dealing with people, there's nothing more rewarding than being authentic.
Authentic, and that's one of the great things about your film is that everything in the film is true and real to what has transpired in your year with your mom.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about that. Talk about seeing that year with your mom in film and how that all played out. And then I also want you to get into why the name of the film, My Mom and the Girl.
Absolutely. Well, my stepfather, who was my mom's best friend, and he was 12 years older than her, and they were living in assisted living, and together, like he was 87 when my mom was, so what is that, 75. My mom that was the year that he died. And my mom kept saying, when Georgie goes, that's my best friend. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. There's no way. I'm done. Like, that's my best friend. And I would say, Mom, hello, daughter here, children, grandchildren, we love you. You have more to live, right? And, so, but when he passed, my mom, it was really difficult on her, in that having Alzheimer's, she kept going through what it was like Groundhog's Day. Where's Georgie? And I'd say, Mom, he died. What? Nobody told me. And I, over and over, and I had the memorial pamphlet that I had made, and I would show it to her. And I was determined to move her in with me, to walk. I say, hold her hand, walk her over the bridge till she actually could embrace that information and embrace what she was going through. Because she couldn't do it without me. And I couldn't. It was heartbreaking. I knew that I was the only one that was going to reach her. And, it took about 2 weeks until finally she asked me again, where's Georgie? And I just looked at her with all the love I could in my eyes. And she said, he died? I said, yeah, he died, Mom. She said, okay. The last time she asked about him.
Wow.
So, I felt that was so rewarding for me, because everybody else said, just lie to her, tell her that he's out to lunch, tell her, all that. And I said, no, it's cruel.
No.
I can't. I respect her too much. I know that I'll reach her. I know that it will get in if I just keep gently repeating it, And it was a hard year. It was the year that I said she crossed over the bridge, and I wanted to be there. There's a certain point in Alzheimer's and different dementias where, the person that has it is fighting tooth and nail.
Right.
To hold on to what they're used to. And then when they cross that bridge, it's a beautiful place. It's serenity, it's peacefulness, it's acceptance. Right. And the only thing that's hard about it is how we, as loved ones and caregivers, react to what they're going through. So that is what I learned in that year, was that if I can meet her where she's at, she will be way better, and I will be way better, and everyone will be way better.
Everyone, that's why I love the metaphor of walking over the bridge. You did it together because it benefited everybody involved in the process. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's no, we wish I like to use, I wish my caregiving cape, I could snap my caregiving cape and just make everything go away and make it better and make it the way it used to be.
Was the way it was.
We just, and
I'm with you.
I thought Richard was going to get out of that hospice bed 2 days before he died, and we were going to go home.
Christopher, I'm with you. I used to tell my mom, Mommy, you have Alzheimer's, but we're going to kick it. I got your back. We're gonna get you through this, and we're gonna get you through it.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna, because they always got better.
Yes,
they always got better.
They do. It's tricky when a disease lasts long, because I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten in the middle of the night when I go, okay, this is it. I'm not going to answer the phone. I can't. My breath is, I'm going to faint. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then you get brave, and then you finally call back, and they go, oh, your mom fell out of bed and she's fine, but we had to take her for x-rays, and you're like, okay, because you're waiting for that call. Mm-hmm. The call.
The call. That's right. You look at the call. It's like, I don't want to take that call, but I have to take that call.
Yeah. And I've been waiting for that call for a long time. I say, part of me says my mom, knowing what a baby I am and how much I love her, is giving me a very long runway to get used to the idea. And so for that, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful that, there's a point in when you're caregiving where you as a partner, Christopher, it's different, but as a mother-daughter, I switched roles and became mommy.
Right.
And I
even
embraced it.
those role reversals, they do happen in
And
the
it's an
midst of
honor.
caregiving.
It's
It,
an
it,
honor.
there, there is no greater honor bestowed on any of us than to care for somebody else, especially at the time when life transitions. We must, we must have been friends in another life and then since day one, because it's like there's so much synergy here.
Right? I know. I know. That's why I say
But
it's shorthand. It's shorthand. It's
it's,
listen, I grew up in La La Land here. Nobody wants to face their mortality, and
right.
I've been scared to die since I'm 3 years old. I remember running out of my bed and going to my dad, where do we go when we die? He's like, are you kidding me? You got 97 more years. Get back
Mhm.
to bed. And I'd be like, but I want to know. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what happens? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why? And, nobody wants to embrace it. But honestly, it's like Arthur Miller. There's this, passage from one of his plays where he talks about embracing your idiot child. And it's this fear running from this horrible monster in a dream. He kept saying, I had this dream that there was this horrible, ugly child chasing me, and I was running as fast as I can, and I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get away from it. And I finally, in my dream, I turned around and thought, I can't run anymore. So I embraced it. And the idiot child went away because I realized that the idiot child was me. So when you embrace your idiot child is when you
When you're,
become whole, and when
mhm.
you can really live.
And it's also, I guess, a sense of letting go
Mm-hmm.
and letting in.
Yes. Yeah. Because
It's
we
that
can't
reality of
control.
what's in front of you.
Yeah, we can't control,
That word of control. Oh my God. I want to
right?
control it. Can I control this disease?
Nope, we can't. We
Used to
can
think I
control
could.
how we do. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Mhm.
It is really the narcissism in us a little bit is that,
Right.
right? But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, all we can do is control how we respond to it.
exactly. Because it's a gentle reminder, and I know my listeners have heard me say this oftentimes. And Richard and I talked about this. As a caregiver, we're really the co-pilot. We're not the one diagnosed. We don't. We're not the one taking the medicine. We're the co-pilot. And sometimes when we put ourselves in the pilot seat, um, it kind of upsets the apple cart
Right.
for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it comes back to that old saying about self-care, why it's so important for caregivers to take care of themselves.
True that. You know, and I know with you and Richard, because he was corpus mentis most of the time, right? So you could have those conversations,
Right.
whereas when someone who is losing their cognitive ability to communicate in a way that's, complex,
Very much so.
right? So what you live for are those lucid moments that do come, and they do
Hmm.
come, which I showed in my movie,
Oh,
where
very
my
much so.
where my mother
And
turns to
actually,
me.
there's a lucid moment that I'd like to talk to you about that
Sure.
happened very early in
Yep.
because it's so meaningful when your mom said you have to put me in a home
Yep.
to live your life.
She literally said that to me. She literally is exactly how that scene went is how it played out. My mother kept thinking that she had a baby and it was missing and
Hmm.
stolen, and she blamed it on me. She didn't understand. It was confusing. Things were starting to get confusing, and then she looked at me and realized I'm her baby,
Right.
and that visceral mother, that mother who she is exactly which was triggered with the girl in the movie, got triggered,
Right.
and she looked at me and she said, you have to put me in a home. You need to live your life.
Right.
And of course, my mom and I, who are always live for comedy, I was like, oh, you're going.
That was brilliant the way that was played out, and I think as I watched that and I thought about all the caregivers out there who are trying to make decisions like this, uh, and to have your mom say that to you in a very lucid moment, it what it told me was something that needed to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And there had to, and your response about it with making a kind of a funny response,
Mm-hmm.
but it was very poignant in the sense that we sometimes we need that permission to do the things that we have to do that are hard. And she
They're
was
hard.
giving you that permission.
She was absolutely giving me that permission. And we need that. We need that. And and you're so right. It's like I have a stepson in London who has been a caregiver for his mother who's my age for years, and she's, that's a whole other story, but he wrote such a beautiful short story that will make a really nice movie, but it's about him allowing her to have her journey, whatever it is. He couldn't change who she was, so he couldn't save her.
Mm.
And so he had to let go of his expectations and allow her to live the only way that she could. And that's how we all have to do. Because life is short. And so if we want to be able to love and have some quality time with the people that we love, we have to meet them where they're at. We can't force them to meet us.
Oh, that's beautifully said, because that's oftentimes in the midst of it, we turn the roles around. Well, you need to be where I'm at, not where I need to be where you're at.
Right. And it's life is like a teeter-totter. So sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down, and we will be there. We're all going to be there. Mm-hmm. God willing, right? Yes. We're all going to be there. Valerie Harper, if you don't know who she is, you must, because you
have to know Valerie Harper.
She's one of the most special human beings that this world created. And, here's a woman that was diagnosed with brain cancer 8 years before she did my movie and was given a 3-month life sentence, basically. And she said, I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, we all go in there. She just said, but I'm not going to go to my funeral before I'm ready. And 8 years later.
Now, ain't that is a classic line. I'm not going to my funeral until I'm ready.
Nope. And she walked the talk. She was such a generous, lovely, authentic human being. And that when she read my script and she just had to do it. I don't know if she knew it would be her last job. I don't know. All I know is she left a gift for everybody that was so important.
Her performance is brilliant, off the charts, and as I've read, that was her last performance.
Indeed, it was, and I'm honored, and I will cry because I love her so much. I cannot tell you this woman. She embodied my mother. She had to meet my mom. They sat together and sang for 2 hours, kissing and hugging, holding hands like they were sisters. I don't know if you got to watch the credits, but weren't they like peas in a pod?
Very peas in a pod.
Peas in a pod.
It was. This was supposed to happen.
It was supposed to happen. When she met me, she said, just like my mom would, "Oh, you're gorgeous. Let me move your hair out of your face so I can see you." Mm-hmm. Ah, there you are. Oh, and look at your partner. Now that's a partner. She just was my mom, my partner, and I looked at each other and said, "That's your mom," and generous to an amazing degree. Like, we would be on a red carpet. People didn't know me. They want to talk to Val. Valerie said, "Oh, no, you need to talk to Susie. She does everything. You write."
I saw that in one of the interviews.
Did you? She writes, she directs, she acts, she produces, she does everything. She looks like a Tootsie, but she's not.
What an honor it must have been to work with her. Goodness.
It was an honor, and I, listen, I can't say anything more about her. She's just, what a humane and human person. I didn't even know until her funeral what a charitable and altruistic person she was, in terms of just giving of her time. I mean, she raised so much money for feeding the children around the world. You didn't hear about it. We didn't know. Didn't hear about it.
She was
millions, she's the real deal. She walked the talk.
Yeah. And you actually you kind of tipped my cat here on a my cat my cap here in a second because you were talking about singing and
Yes.
there was a couple of scenes in the film, especially the scene in the bus where
Yeah.
where your mom and Valerie is singing to the man who's standing up,
Yes.
and then they were as the scene around the dinner table at the caregiver's home.
Yes.
Maybe your mom started to get a little frustrated, and the man reached out and started to reminded her about a song,
Yes.
and how the moods just changed. And I think those are important tools for caregivers to kind of
Hmm.
recognize it because there are ways to diffuse difficult situations
Hmm.
when you're dealing with somebody that has dementia. And that was those were two perfect examples of
Yes.
how the mood changed and whatever was in her mind was able to go away because the conversation was redirected to something else.
Redirect it exactly like you do with, and I'm not, this isn't a disrespectful analogy, but like you do with children, because when the certain cognitive abilities go away, or they get, when synapses get mixed up, it's you need to be able to address it in a way that helps it, not
Right.
makes it or fumes it, right? You don't want to do that. You
You don't
don't
want
want
to
to feed
you
it.
don't want to escalate it.
No, because they're, that at that moment they're just, it's like anything. If you're going through a trauma, you're not really being yourself for a second, and that's okay. It's normal. So we just have to do that. And what's interesting, that I learned so much from Rolanda, our caregiver, who really was part of the family
Right.
from before. That's how we knew her, and that's why my mother loved her, and she became her best friend. And Erlanda was just a natural at being a caregiver. And you remember the police scene, right?
Oh yeah, that was
That happened
that
several
was a
times.
class. I can imagine that must have happened several times.
And she was so canny about it because she told me so many stories. And I said, you are really an angel. This is a woman, she didn't go to school for caregiving, or, she just was a human being and understood. Like, there were one time they got pulled over because my mom was like calling a cop car, come over here. This woman is
Mhm.
crazy. She's chasing me. And Orlando tried to tell the man, the police, listen, I'm her caregiver. They don't know, because our first responders aren't educated in this. So she said,
Exactly.
please give me 1 minute. She walked away around the corner, waited about 1 minute, and came back. And my mom turned around and said, Erlanda, where have you been? I've been looking for you. She knew she just
She
needed to
knew.
change it up.
She
And
needed to change.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
just,
the other really important tip, that I saw in the exchange with the police is when Yolanda pulled out her phone
yes.
and showed a picture to the police
Mm-hmm.
with your mom and her,
Mm-hmm.
because as you just said, first responders, they're they're often not they're not trained.
They're not
They've
trained
not dealt with this before, and
no.
you're dealing with somebody that looks like they're all there, but when
Yep.
they're struggling with a diagnosis. And I just thought that was so brilliant the way she picked out her phone and showed the picture to the police.
Right.
That could have a way of de-escalating so many
Yes.
situations that go out that get well,
Exasperated.
exa- yeah.
Exasperated. And do we have time for me to tell you a quick story?
Oh, we have all day for
Okay.
you. So
Well, we'll have to order luncheon. Okay. So no, and this is why it was important for me to make the film as well, because of those kinds of situations where it's not just first responders, it's even our medical community. And if
mhm,
it's not their specialty, they are also not aware, and aren't taught how to recognize those kinds
mhm,
of situations. So when my mother, when she did move into an assisted living, and one afternoon when they were taking her to a doctor's appointment, she got agitated because she was disoriented. She didn't know where she was. And when they get disoriented, you get frightened and you have anxiety and it builds. And by the time she got to the hospital to check in, they thought she was that she had a mental breakdown and that she was, needed to be locked up in their, mental
in their psych ward, sure.
In their psych ward, which they did. And I didn't get a call for some reason until the next day. When I went in to see her, she was tethered to a chair. Now, my mom didn't need to be tethered to a chair. My mother was fully mobile. She could walk 5 miles a day. She was in physically wonderful shape. She was zombied out. I thought she was dying. They had her drugged up on a drug called Depakote.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the doctor that admitted her went on vacation for a long weekend, and he's the only one that could release. Yeah. So 9 days later, my mother never left. After she got out, she never left the wheelchair and was incontinent, and that's the last she ever walked. So, and that's all because of them mistaking her for being psychologically unsound as opposed to having dementia.
And goodness, I think this is going to come out correctly, but you can't make this stuff up.
Nope.
You I know you're a writer and producer and the reality is you can't make because you just don't believe these things can happen, but they do.
They happen too often.
They happen too often. There's
too often
gobs and gobs of stories out there about people like your mom who are engaging with somebody who they don't know, whether it's on the legal side or whatever, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a medical situation that is so inappropriate, and look what happens. Yes. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, so that we can help others that are coming after us that are dealing with some of these same
issues. Because I didn't know, and so if I can at least enlighten other people, because I literally tried when I was trying to deal with my mom, and we had, like a lot of families do, we had, we had family issues where, a lot of people, a lot of times it happens that there's one caregiver and everybody else turns their back. And it's not unusual. It's not the only scenario, but it does happen a lot because not everybody can face being a caregiver, or don't have the tools to do it.
Right.
And money causes big problems too.
Oh, yes.
And so when money is involved, you find out the true nature of a lot of people, and sometimes it's a big old disappointment. So, and a lot of people that have dementia and Alzheimer's, they are abused financially.
Right.
And it's easy to
Taken
do.
advantage of. Right.
It's super easy to do.
There's a line that I always like to use, and maybe I'll get a comment or two about this, but where there's a will, there's a relative. So
ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Well, and I think on that note, this is really a great time for us to take our break. So, but Susie, when we come back, I'm going to want to know one fun fact about you that we haven't talked about, and I know our listeners are going to want to know about you. So you have to put your thinking cap on. Okay. So you're listening to Healing Ties, featured on the Whole Care Network and UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. We'll be right back. Hey, it's Christopher McClellan. You just might know me as the Bowtie Guy on Healing Ties 2.0. On Healing Ties, we visit with people from all over the globe who share their stories, because it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause. And if you'd like to share your story on Healing Ties, email me direct at thebowtieguy@healingties.com. We would love to share your story to your health, happiness, and prosperity. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm continuing my delightful conversation with my new friend, writer, director, producer, actress, Susie Singer Carter. Susie, welcome back.
I'm happy to be here again. I'm
Oh,
still happy to be here.
I'm still, it's kind of like, we just kind of took a little bit of a break, but
That's all.
I gave you some time to think about. We're just, we're having a delightful conversation, but I want to lighten it up just a little bit. And I want to know one fun fact about you.
Okay.
That everybody's on the edge of their seats waiting to hear.
Okay. Well, I guess I think if someone asked me what my fun fact is, I would say when I was 19, I was in a girl group called Two Chicks, which was produced by the very, very famous, very prolific showrunner, producer, TV producer, Chuck Lorre. And
okay. I know that name.
Sure, of 2.5 Men and of, Kaminsky Method, and you name, if it's a comedy, it's Chuck Lorre's. I mean,
Right.
He's just the most prolific. He's turned out to be the most prolific person ever. But when I was 19, he was a blossoming music producer, and found me and my partner at the time and decided to produce us. And we did a huge, like a very, 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 very typical 80s video to a song called Bad Dreams in Hollywood. I'll say don't Google it, but Google it, because you'll laugh, because it couldn't be more.
Bad Dreams in Hollywood.
Bad Dreams in Hollywood. It was at the time such a high budget. We thought we're gonna get superstars, and things happen. We actually we recorded a song called French Kissing in the USA that he wrote for us. And then when our whole thing imploded, Blondie came out, and that was back. She had her comeback, and that was her song, and the comeback, which was French Kissing in the USA. But we did the original, and I ended up getting to work with her, and we had that conversation. She was so lovely and gracious, and she said, "Oh, I loved your version. It was so good." So it was, we had a lot of fun. I was a little bit of a pop star for a while. We were on Rhino Records, and they call us the best thing since the post Go-Go's. So we had a little fun of being a pop star for a while, and it was a blast.
That was a great fun fact. Thank you for sharing. We got to meet Blondie. Goodness, that's that in and of itself is awesome. And,
is a kick, yeah.
It kind of brings me to another comment that that I have taken from your wonderful film. It's not. You didn't say it was easy, but you're saying it was worth it.
Yeah.
This has all been worth it.
Yeah.
As hard as it is worth it. Yes,
and something else that I brought up in my film too, in the same vein, is that when my mom, I was going through a really hard divorce when my mom moved in with me, and I just literally moving homes, divorcing. I had a 16-year-old daughter, and I have a mom with Alzheimer's, and my stepfather just died. Could it be more dramatic? Could we have more stress? And, one of the things my friends who weren't familiar with Alzheimer's and dementia said, "Are you sure you want to move your mom in with your daughter? It's so unfair. It's really hard." And I said, I didn't think of that. And, I asked one of my friends who is also a highly respected doctor, and I said, "Am I doing the wrong thing?" And she said, "What? Are you kidding me? You couldn't be being a better role model." And I said, "Okay," because I don't want to, I was so confused and overwhelmed. But a year later, when my mom ended up having to go into assisted living, my daughter turned to me and said, "I'm not ready for Nanny to go."
Yeah.
And
that was in the film. That was in the film also.
And that year, like you said, was one of the hardest years of both our lives, my daughter and mine, because it isn't easy, especially the stage my mom was in, when like I say, straddling the fence, and they don't, they want to stay what they were, and they're fighting tooth and nail before they're going to lean out into it. So we had a lot of changes to ride the waves with my daughter and myself, and boy, what a trooper my mom was, what a trooper my daughter was, what a trooper Erlanda was. And I will pat myself on the back for having survived it. And not only survived it, came out a better person. And everybody that was on the road on my journey has become a better person. My daughters and everybody else. And
what an awesome person you are for all the work that you do. So tell our listeners how they can learn more about you, how they can see the film. Get it all out there. This is your time.
Sure.
This is your turn.
Oh, please find Love Conquers All. That's my podcast, which, I'm a different voice than Christopher, but we're all of the same voice. So maybe, just if you need, listen to Christopher, listen to ours. We're everywhere just like he is. Also, my film is available on Apple TV. It's available on, I guess it's on PBS still because it was on my local PBS station here in South Florida. So it plays on PBS. We actually won one of their awards. So that was an honor. Amazon Prime. If you can't find it, find me on social media. I'm everywhere, and I will send you a link because I want you to see it. It's good. It'll make you feel good. You'll laugh. You'll cry. It's a good time for 20 minutes. And we'll also put a link in the show notes for the podcast. And I'll be appearing on your podcast here real soon. Yes, too, Christopher's going to be a guest. Come see him on ours. We're going to have so much fun. So, Susie, with the great work that you're doing and the advocacy and the role model that you are demonstrating, you are certainly someone who's creating healing ties all around us. I can't thank you enough for spending the time with me today, and I look forward to future conversations and collaborating on with you. You're a very special human. Thank you. Vice versa. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here, and thank you to everybody that is part of this community because we can't do it without you. We're all in this together. Dedicated, fun, and sincere. That's my new and trusted friend, Susie Singer Carter. And be sure to watch My Mom and the Girl and subscribe to Susie and Don's podcast, Love Conquers Alls, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And that does it for this episode of Healing Ties. And be sure to subscribe to Healing Ties wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And join us next week as we visit with Amy Whalen from the National Center for Lesbian Rights as we talk about advocacy for LGBT seniors and their caregivers during Pride 2021. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Christopher McClellan. I've created a life to love after caregiving ends by being with awesome people like you. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye for now.